Let me take you back to 2002, when Activision unleashed Spider-Man on the PlayStation 2 and the original Xbox. If you're an avid action-adventure gamer who dabbled in games like Spider-Man during that era, chances are you vividly remember the lackluster jumping physics and platform mechanics that were considered acceptable at the time. Jumps often fell short of expectations, platforms failed to interact properly, and plummeting into an untimely doom became a frustratingly regular occurrence. Unfortunately, it's disconcerting to see that Lord of the Rings Gollum evokes memories of these infuriating aspects, as this modern AAA game disappointingly incorporates these outdated mechanics, ultimately falling short of its potential. Originally slated for release in 2021, but delayed multiple times in an effort to, quote, provide the ultimate gaming experience, this game's outcome has left me feeling disillusioned. It gives off the impression of a doomed project right from the start, as if the developers reluctantly pushed out an incomplete and unrefined game, potentially to spare management or investors from further distress. Lord of the Rings Gollum takes a linear approach, guiding players through levels and a story mode narrated by Gandalf and Gollum himself. The game revolves around assisting Gandalf in unravelling Gollum's actions and understanding the imminent danger that Bilbo, Frodo and the Shire face. As Gollum, players delve into the inner struggle between his dual personalities, Smeagol and of course Gollum, and make decisions that shape the course of his life. It was captivating to witness the narrative of Gollum, particularly the events bridging The Hobbit and the Fellowship of the Ring. Although I was disappointed by the scarcity of exciting events in the story, I still found myself engrossed in completing the walkthrough. I did wish for a broader timeline of events within the gameplay, as it could have led to a more eventful narrative. Instead, the focus mainly revolved around daily tasks and the endeavour to escape Mordor from Gollum's prison cell. However, without a passion for Lord of the Rings or Middle-earth lore, some players might struggle to fully enjoy this storyline. Unfortunately, my enthusiasm for the Lord of the Rings Gollum diminished when contending with the game's platforming mechanics. They proved to be a significant letdown. I frequently encountered instances of overshooting jumps, missing platforms entirely, or even slipping off the ones I'd managed to land on. Even performing basic tasks like jumping between objects, which should be straightforward, occasionally presented unnecessary and unexpected challenges. For example, attempting to leap between thin planks felt akin to throwing a bar of soap onto a windowsill and hoping it would remain in place. The smooth, intuitive movement patterns that most AAA games strive for were noticeably absent in this experience. One of the highlights, in fact the only highlight really, of the game is the ongoing internal monologue between Gollum and Smeagol as they navigate each objective. It offered an intimate glimpse into Gollum's thought process, showcasing a mixture of emotions ranging from fear and hatred to remorse. This transcended into the unique gameplay feature of a decision-making process between Gollum and Smeagol. However, it's quite disappointing to discover that these decisions don't significantly impact the storyline in any meaningful way. Nonetheless, Gollum's mischievous personality and cunning, calculated planning stood out as key elements for those who are devoted fans of Tolkien's works. When it comes to the gameplay of Lord of the Rings Gollum, it becomes evident that the developers prioritized simplicity. It actively avoids complex mechanics, focusing instead on running, jumping and climbing, resulting in a very basic gaming experience. In terms of the required skill set, Gollum needs to master a few abilities to progress in the game. These abilities encompass actions like throwing stones, hiding in bushes or shadows, and even sneaking past enemies. While Gollum doesn't employ traditional weapons, he can stealthily eliminate unsuspecting orc enemies, provided they're not wearing helmets. I encountered glitches such as instances where I could see through walls, or the camera getting stuck in inconvenient positions. One frustrating moment involved Gollum persistently auto-jumping back to a hanging point I had just left when I needed to drop off a platform. The enemies in the game seemed to have poor AI, as I could crawl directly behind them without raising any alarms. Even if I was detected, climbing to a spot out of their direct line of sight was usually enough to escape. This resulted in minimal thinking required to solve many puzzles, which was kind of a departure from the challenging puzzle-solving experiences that I typically enjoy. This extends to the saving process in Lord of the Rings Gollum. It provides regular autosave checkpoints, which reduces the potential frustration from losing progress. However, this also minimizes the consequences of dying, reducing the need for careful play and attention to detail. For gamers seeking a serious high-stakes experience, this might result in an underwhelming gameplay dynamic. It It removed a layer of urgency and danger, thereby diluting the intensity typically associated with high risk, high reward gaming experience. I often found myself progressing through the gameplay with a somewhat detached attitude, knowing there was little at stake. Furthermore, the graphics in Lord of the Rings Gollum lacks the quality expected from a modern game. The dimensions of Gollum's head, coupled with the detail and shadows on his face, seem undistinguished, for example. Spotting some essential platforms proves difficult due to the lack of detail in the surroundings, straining both eyes and mind in seeking the right path. Interestingly, some of the game's environments are actually reasonably well detailed, leaving me questioning why some areas received more polish than others. Unfortunately, this also applies to cutscenes, which are visually bland and frequently glitchy. It's a significant letdown for a game based on one of the greatest cinematic masterpieces of our time. Additionally, the game's music, while good at invoking emotion, fails to consistently align with the game's events. Intense moments might lack music entirely, while dramatic scores accompany just regular gameplay. This inconsistency detracts from the overall gaming experience, leaving it feeling somewhat incomplete. Lord of the Rings Gollum currently retails for $60, and given the array of issues encountered and the general low quality experience it provides, it's challenging to justify this cost. While there are facets of it which have the potential to be enjoyable, especially for those who are Tolkien purists and might relish the narrative alone, it's clear that many core issues need resolving before it becomes a more enjoyable experience. On too many occasions, I found myself grappling with frustration due to the game's inconsistent components. That said, if you're a die-hard fan of Middle-earth lore or have a particular fondness for Gollum, it is possible that you may find aspects of the game enjoyable. There are elements of the story that might resonate with you, or the occasional reference that might even tickle your fancy. Ultimately, the subpar graphics, the cumbersome game mechanics, and the lack of depth in the story make it difficult to recommend this game, especially given its AAA status and ridiculous price tag. The game creator is giving Lord of the Rings Gollum a 4 out of 10. Thanks for watching, and make sure to stick around for more reviews just like this one.